Welcome to Thought Crime and Keto and Crime. Today we've got to say the least, a disturbing story, a disturbing case. The Hacienda healthcare sexual abuse case that happened in 2018-19 and is still pending trial. So this one's going to be I doubt this one's going to be monetized. So if you want to help me out, subscribe, like, share, comment, join Patreon. That helps. But in any case, never required. Always appreciate it. This one is rough, and if you are if you can't handle like discussions about sexual abuse or rape, then please exit out now, because this one is bad. Anyway, before we dive into it, and I'll drop a timestamp below, a little bit of housekeeping. First, a shout out to my wonderful channel members: Flame Lily, Hippie Dotson, Kimmy Middleton, Joe Guitar, Katrina Middleton, Enigma X, Sherry Hendricks, Maybe Sunshine, Stephanie Mertz, and to my wonderful patrons: Donna Erveliner, Lori Holmes, Zachary Reese, Kimberly Jolly, Kate Whitlett, Laura Kirk, Sarah Carney, Andrea Lee, Tabora Sumners Cooper, Stephanie Mertz, and Demelza Pasco. Thank you so much. And for those of you, my patrons, you will be receiving an email about the upcoming patron channel member only hangout. I'll be sending that invite to your email. And for those of you that are my channel members, if you missed the channel member only community post, please check that out. Basically, I need you to send me your email, and I posted my email in that so that I can have your email address to send you an invite. And so, housekeeping out of the way, as always: like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, join and become a patron if you can. If not, just watch. That's the best thing you can do. And without further ado, let's get into the Hacienda healthcare case. The Hacienda healthcare case happened around Phoenix, Arizona in 2019 is when it all came to a head. But before we get into the crime, we have to talk about Hacienda Healthcare. Hacienda Healthcare is a healthcare conglomerate that operated a couple of long-term care facilities around the state of Arizona. They specialized in treating mentally and physically disabled persons. So this is not a nursing home in the traditional sense. It's not for elderly. It is for those that will need care their entire lives, that their family either can't provide or cannot afford to provide. It is incorporated as a nonprofit, which means that it is almost entirely funded by donations and Medicaid, which is basically disability and welfare, for lack of a better term, government insurance that pays for the care of most of these people, because they are fully disabled. They can't really take care of themselves. So they specialize in the long-term care of people that can't care for themselves. A great many of their patients are in a vegetative state, meaning they don't speak, they don't really comprehend language. That's the wrong word. They don't respond in a normal way to language. They can't speak. They're nonverbal. A lot of them, they do feel. They do understand pain and trauma and things like that. They just can't, they can't voice their feelings like the rest of us. But they are conscious. Just think of, just think of yourself fully conscious, with full cognition, that can't speak or really motion or let people understand what you're feeling or saying. Those types of people. And when I say type, I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. This is hard to talk about, y'all. This is really hard to talk about, and I hope I don't come off as offensive or non-caring. I'm just trying to describe it to you so that you understand. And of course, there's also people that are mentally lacking, mentally disabled, and those that are physically disabled, maybe quadriplegic, paraplegics, people that just don't have the same chances in life that the rest of us have, by no fault of their own. So this is the type of facility that this occurred at, which makes it 10 times worse. The case we're going to talk about occurred at one of their satellite facilities outside Phoenix that housed at the time, about 37 patients. Most of the staff at these places, just like nursing homes, you have a couple of like registered nurses or nurse practitioners on staff. You have doctors that, visit and write prescriptions and take care of the patients, but most of the heavy lifting is done by LPNs, licensed practical nurses, a few respiratory therapists, occupational therapists, and CNAs, or certified nursing assistants. So you're not going to have an RN assigned to every single patient. You're going to have an RN that runs a shift and kind of watches over what LPNs and nurses' aides are doing. So it's very different than a hospital. Just pointing that out. This is long-term care, long-term living. So basically what happened was December 29th, 2019, a young woman of Native American descent that, this is rough, suddenly gave birth to a baby boy. No one knew she was pregnant. No, she couldn't voice that she was pregnant, but yet there had to be signs, and that's what I'm going to go over a little bit later. But they didn't know she was pregnant, and when she suddenly gave birth, it was a shock to everyone. What they did do, of course, is call in the police. They called in the girl's family. This girl had been in a vegetative state since she was about 3 years old. She had lived her entire life at Hacienda. So, as you can imagine, her parents were a little more than just upset. So the baby was healthy. He may have some cognitive shortfalls, but for the most part, he's a healthy baby boy being cared for by her family. I'm not going to name her. I'm not going to name the child because goodness knows they don't deserve that. I will talk about the perpetrator, though, and shame his ass because he deserves it. Anyway, alleged perpetrator. Allegedly. So what the police did is immediately start DNA testing all the male staff because we know what the birds and the bees, what happens there. So the DNA of one LPN matched the baby's DNA, and he was promptly arrested for sexual assault, sodomy, rape, whatever else you can pile on top of there. And he is currently still awaiting trial in Arizona, in the Maricopa County Corrections Facility. So let's talk about him, shall we? Nathan Sutherland was born in Haiti. Had one sister, was born into poverty and was abandoned. They were abandoned by their parents. And he was actually adopted and brought to the U.S. by an American couple in 1989. He grew up in another state. I could not verify that, but he grew up in one state and then finished growing up in Arizona. He has been in Arizona since 1993. He became a naturalized citizen in 2011. And he decided to make Gilbert, Arizona his home just prior to his arrest. In 2005, he completed a certified nursing assistant course at 7 Healthcare Academy in Tempe, Arizona. And also, while working as a nursing assistant, he had aspirations of going on to be a registered nurse, but he also had other passions like music. Believe it or not, he and his sister performed as a Christian rap duo known as SLS, or Sleepless Soul Jazz. And I do have a clip, and I'm going to drop it right here.
Christian rapper. This is a world away from Sutherland in jail, accused of raping a disabled woman. His other persona, a Christian rapper. This is video from 2011, a YouTube interviewer with Sutherland and his sister talking about growing up in Haiti.
My parents actually, they split up in Haiti, and then I remember my mom couldn't take care of us, so she brought us to an orphanage.
Business records show Sutherland has been in Arizona since the 90s and even tried to start a charitable organization to, quote, show Christ's unconditional love by responding to the spiritual and physical needs of the homeless and developmental disabled. According to the filing, he planned to call it Life in You.
According to Mesa, Arizona pastor Maria Mosley, she was a pastor of one of the larger megachurches in the area, the Faith Center West Family Church. They performed quite a bit on the church circuit, had a little bit of a regional following, and actually released an album in 2009, which is actually still available on Amazon if you're so inclined. They had been working on a second album in 2011, but nothing was released. The duo's social media has been inactive since 2014, so long before even this happened. We do know that he finally graduated from for-profit college Fortis College in 2011 in Phoenix, Arizona, with his LPN degree, associate or one-year degree in nursing, which allowed him to sit for the state licensed practical nurse exam. Upon completing that, he did obtain his license, which was not due to expire until April of this year, 2020, and he started working at Hacienda Healthcare in 2012. He was married and had 4 children. His people that he worked with at Hacienda Healthcare had nothing but great things to say about him. They said he was always professional, clean-cut, very friendly, had a lot of friends. Everybody loved him. They were totally shocked when what happened. So, yeah, totally shocked. And I have actually a clip here of someone that worked with him vowing about how good of an employee and coworker he was. I'll drop that right here.
From people who say they know the suspect, Nathan Sutherland.
And now we are sitting down with the former co-worker, shocked, as Justin was just saying, by the DNA connection to the case.
Our own Sonu Wasu spoke with her today. And Sonu, what did she say?
Well, she's just in disbelief. She calls Nathan Sutherland not just a co-worker, but a friend, someone she really trusted at work. And now hearing news of his arrest, she says she is just sick to her stomach.
I cried. I just cried and cried. I cried more for her than for him. I think he's a coward. I think he's the lowest scum imaginable. And it just kills me because I considered him a friend.
Strong words coming from a nurse who worked as a caregiver for the incapacitated victim in this case. Eleanor Riggers was a respiratory therapist at Hacienda Healthcare for 11 years. She says the suspect, Nathan Sutherland, someone she worked closely with to care for the victim.
He was friendly and fun and outgoing, and most people did like him.
Professional, helpful, and nice. Words we are hearing from several former nurses who once worked with Sutherland. Definitely not the name they expected to hear police announce and name as a suspect in this disturbing sexual assault and abuse case. Riggers says the arrest of Sutherland comes as a shock, and now she can't help but worry about other female patients in Pod C, where this victim and many other vulnerable women lay at the mercy of staff hired to care for them.
Trust has taken a giant hit. How do you get trust back when everything is so tipsy-turvy and violated?
As you can see there, she claimed he would always, when they were bathing patients or doing treatments on patients, he would always be the last one to leave the room and would always stay and finish up with the patient. Yeah. Okay. Everything was fine and dandy until about 2018 when he and his wife were going through a separation, then would later end in divorce. But they said that he became a much different person. He was scruffy. He became a little more scruffy in his appearance. He was a little more temperamental and just seemed to be suffering from a lot of undue stress. Now, let's talk about the victim. She will remain unnamed, but she is a member of the San Carlos Apache Indian tribe, residing at the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation. She has been in a persistent vegetative state since the age of 3, around 1992, and she was born in April of 1989. So she was about 29 years old at the time of the crime. She's nonverbal and has had a seizure disorder that began at the age of 2 months, which is what they kind of understand is probably what put her into a vegetative state. She can respond with facial gestures and some vocal sounds, but not actually words. She can move her neck, head, limbs a bit, and she would thrash around whenever they hooked her up to a ventilator. So what I'm trying to get at is that this poor girl was absolutely cognitive and absolutely aware of her surroundings, which is what makes this 10 times worse. She's pretty much been at the Institute since Hacienda Healthcare since she was a baby. Medical exams kind of show that she became pregnant sometime in 2018, but no one knew. No one took note that her menstrual period had stopped and that she was gaining weight unexpectedly, because this is a woman that was most likely on a feeding tube or some sort of manual feeding. So she wasn't overeating, So the whole thing was that she started to have an extended abdomen, and her doctor at the time, the doctor that took care of all the patients there, thought they were just overfeeding her and she was gaining weight. So to make things worse, they reduced her caloric intake to help her lose weight. So this poor girl was pregnant, unbeknownst to anyone else, and they reduced her caloric intake. They ascertained she was probably abused various times between 2012 and 2018. Upon a physical exam, they discovered that a lot of damage around all of her private parts, including her anus. So she had been violated in a lot of different ways. I'm trying to be kind here. I'm trying to not be vulgar here. But this whole situation is gross and vulgar. But anyway, so pregnant, they reduced her calories in an effort to help the poor girl lose weight when she wasn't fat, and somehow they just missed all the signs, right down to starving her. They had reduced her calories down under 800 calories a day. They were even treating her for things like constipation and just anything to make that distended abdomen go by. Everything but noticing that her period had stopped and they might want to give her a pregnancy test. I understand how that's probably the last thing on anyone's mind with somebody in this condition, but still, you're doctors. Come on. So, on the afternoon of December 29th, 2018, I said 2019 earlier. I apologize for that. I was wrong. December 29th, 2018, she gave birth to a baby boy, unbeknownst to anyone else. Can you imagine that they said that she was thrashing about, obviously in pain, how she had to suffer, and all of a sudden, baby boy. And I want you to listen to this 911 call. I will put a timestamp there because I know a lot of you don't like 911 calls, but listen. There's just something wrong with the knowledge level of some of these staff members. Listen to it and let me know if it rubs you the wrong way too. I'm going to drop that right here.
Phoenix 911.
Oh, the baby's turning blue! Baby's turning blue!
Okay, where are you at?
Baby on TV!
What is the address, ma'am?
Baby's turning blue! Baby's turning blue!
Ma'am, I need an
Hello?
address. I need an address.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and is it a house or an apartment?
No, it's a facility.
Okay, I'm going to get paramedics are on the line. You need to give them the address again.
You said 30?
30? What is it?
No, what's the unit number?
What's the unit number for what is it? What is it? For what's the room for?
Okay, what's the emergency?
Someone just had a baby. One of our patients just had a baby, and we had no idea she was pregnant.
Okay, is the baby
You are not
out?
prepared for that. Baby's turning blue. We need someone now.
Okay, all right. Go in there with the baby, and I want you to walk this through. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna be on the line with you. What's your phone number?
Shoot, I don't know what the phone number is for this. Give me 1 second. I'll find it for you. We have a respiratory over there with them too. The phone number is.
Okay, and the mom is doing okay?
We're not sure. We had no idea this patient was pregnant.
Okay, and the
This is the
respiratory
patient.
is doing.
We have respiratory here, and we
Okay,
have
are they
nurses
doing
here.
compressions? Or
God,
what's going on right now?
Were we able to get the baby out? Is the baby breathing? Is the baby breathing? Baby's not breathing. Baby is blue.
Okay, so are they doing CPR?
Are they doing? Yeah, they're doing CPR on the baby.
Okay, good. Just keep going with that. And how's the mom doing?
Mom's doing well. It looks like she's doing well.
How far
Did we
along
get
is
a set
she?
of vitals? We had no idea this person was pregnant. We had no idea this patient was pregnant.
Okay, I understand. Does she know how far along she was or anything?
We have no idea. This is a complete surprise. We were not expecting this.
Okay, and the baby
Is the baby doing
responsive
better?
or no?
Is the baby responsive? No, baby's not responsive.
Okay, and they're still doing compressions, right?
They're still trying to do compressions and they're suctioning the baby.
Okay, good. You guys are doing a great job. We got help on the way, okay?
Alrighty. Thank you. Do I just hang up with you and then just go back to the
just
baby?
stay on the line.
Stay on the line?
I want
Okay.
to see how they're doing, okay? And I need you to give me the address.
Should we
to
get
confirm.
vitals on mom? Here, let's get the vital machine. I want vitals on mom. She had a baby. Look at, there's a baby right there.
Okay. They're still doing compressions on the baby, right?
Yeah, and mom's doing fine.
Okay.
Mom is doing fine. We're about to take some vitals on her, but so far she looks stable.
What is your name, ma'am?
My name is and I'm the nurse.
How old is the
We
woman?
take care of. How old is? Give me 1 second. Let me. She'll be something. I can go take a look at her chart and give you the exact. Thank you. Someone's gonna go give me the chart. Oh my goodness. How are we doing with the baby?
Is there any signs of life from the baby?
Any signs of life in the baby yet? Let me see.
Just makes and they're doing the compressions with 2 fingers in the center of the chest.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 1 finger below the nipple line.
Let's see.
And then they want to push down 1.5 inches, okay?
Are you guys still doing compressions on baby? Yeah, they got the baby on an ambu bag. Are you guys still doing? Yeah, I'm on the phone with them right now. Are you still doing compressions on the baby?
Okay.
They're not doing compressions. They have an ambu bag on the baby.
They have what on the baby?
An ambu bag?
Is it an AED or what? What are you saying is on the baby right now?
They have an ambu bag on the baby.
Okay, so are they trying to resuscitate the baby?
Are you guys still doing? Because they want you guys to still do compressions. The baby's breathing. Oh, the baby's breathing. Oh my God! Thank God.
So they resuscitated him. They put him on a amp bag, and if you don't know why, I'll drop that right here. It's just a squeezy bag. And basically, they took the girl to the hospital and had her examined by a Mesa-based gynecologist, Gregory Marchand, who conducted a full exam and said there was no doubt that she had experienced pain. Of course she experienced pain. She just gave birth. She's a human. And that it was only some miracle that the baby didn't die. But he is in the care of her parents today. And he is the one that believed that she had been violated several times. It was hard to ascertain whether this was her first pregnancy. He feared that maybe she had been pregnant and miscarried before and no one noticed. But in any case, they decided an immediate investigation was launched, where they started testing the DNA of all of the male staff members, and Nathan Sutherland was officially arrested in January of 2019, where he pled not guilty, and I have some video footage of that right here.
Sutherland, CR 2019-103-725-001. Please.
Daniel Stranger on behalf of the state.
Bergen on behalf of Mr. Sutherland, who's present, standing next to me in custody.
Counsel, are you privately retained in this matter?
I am, Your Honor.
Do you waive a formal reading of the indictment?
We would waive a formal reading.
Will you advise the client of all of his constitutional rights?
Yes, sir.
Date of birth for the record?
Sutherland. March 31st, 1982.
A not guilty plea is entered on your behalf. Your next court date will be your initial pretrial conference scheduled for March the 19th, 2019 at 8:15 in the morning before Commissioner Hartzell. The comprehensive pretrial conference will be on April 17th, 2019 at 8:31 in the morning before the assigned judge, Judge Gerlach. The court notes that you have retained private counsel in this matter to represent you, affirming all of your prior release conditions. If you get released from custody, it is ordered that you submit to DNA testing within 5 business days with the arresting agency. Is there anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further from defense?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
The victim's family filed a $45 million lawsuit against the state of Arizona, whose Medicaid was funding this place, and accused it of gross negligence and that their lack of oversight had cultivated an environment where this thing was allowed to happen. They sought $25 million settlement for the victim, $10 million for the victim's father, and an additional $10 million for her mother. They basically claimed gross negligence. This was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. The board of directors of Hacienda Healthcare voted February 19th, 2019 to close this particular unit. It was, like I said, it was kind of an extension of the main facility, which normally housed about 37 patients, and they did not lay out a timeline for reopening or anything. They just closed. And that wasn't it. Hacienda Healthcare, this kind of opened a can of worms that just kind of went spilled everywhere, can't put them back in kind of thing, where just this year, a lawsuit and a federal and state indictment for misuse of Medicaid funds was also filed against Hacienda and some of their top executives. They contended that they had overpaid by $11 million and that they had granted them a supposed $1,100 a day per patient at each of their facilities. And if there was any money left over, it was to be returned to Medicaid. But during that same time period, it was found that they were purchasing most of their med supplies from a place called South Mountain Health Supply, which is actually part of the Hacienda family. So they would purchase supplies from third-party vendors, sell them to their own medical equipment company, and then sell them to Hacienda at a 12.5% markup. So they pocketed all that extra money and overbilled Medicaid by a lot. Their CEO also told staff to discard things after one use, even if they were noted for sterilization and multiple use, and to make sure that everything was used so that their budget would not be reduced. And they were still, and these insurance companies were billed for every single thing that was discarded, even though there are some things that, like vials, that can be reused. You can sterilize them, for medicines and things. So the Medicaid and private insurers were still overbilled. So Basically, the two top executives, CFO, CEO, were sentenced to about 7 years in prison, and they had to repay all of that money. In addition, even more worms out of this messed up can showed that what happened to the victim in this story was not the first malfeasance. There were other accusations of sexual assault and a couple of patients that were found to have maggots on them. So the level of care, not only at this satellite facility, but all of Hacienda's, were definitely subpar. And believe it or not, they still operate. They almost lost their Medicaid funding in 2019, but they signed an agreement where they would shape up or ship out. And so far, they've done everything they were supposed to do under new management, but still, be careful if you're sending anyone there. And as I said, Nathan Sutherland did plead not guilty. He is still sitting in Maricopa County Jail at a $500,000 cash-only bail since his 2019 arrest. And yeah, he ain't getting out anytime soon. His trial has been delayed several times, COVID, lots of other reasons, but we'll be listening to the outcome of this trial. I'll be updating this as soon as we know the outcome of this case. Of course, the victim has been removed from Hacienda, and hopefully with the settlement that she received, she's getting much better care, hopefully with her family or in an upscale private facility. And her parents are taking care of the baby boy. And that's the story of Hacienda Healthcare. Be careful where you put your loved ones. There's a lot of abuse in long-term care facilities and nursing homes, even in some of the upscale ones. Just be cognizant of where you put your loved ones. That's all I can say. My thoughts go out to this family. I'm glad they got that money, but that's a small comfort to what happened to this poor girl. And I hope she lives as good of a life as she can possibly live. Anyway, guys, that's the Hacienda Healthcare sexual abuse case. Hope you enjoyed my breakdown, and I will see you soon. Until next time, Keto Comics.